got the floor. Mop me with it.
Oh, hi Jay.
Hey.
So I have a Bible study that I'm conducting with my family, and I have the Orthodox Study Bible that I use since I'm an Orthodox behind a chapter most of the entire way, and that and at the conclusion discovered that there was a Psalm 151, and it's been omitted out of many other Bibles. And I know that the Septuagint translation is based off of the Keon Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament.
Koine.
There's a lot of different Koine. Thank you. Can you explain the significance of that? And I also had a question about the Second Ecumenical Council of the Nestorius condemnation.
Well, Nestorius is condemned at the Third Ecumenical Council at Ephesus.
I apologize.
That's okay. So Constantinople II is the confirmation of the Cappadocian view of the Trinity. So that's the second council. The third council is Ephesus, which condemns Nestorius. But yeah, I mean, the reason that there's the Psalm 151 is there is the same reason that there's all those other deuterocanonical books. So the Protestants followed what they thought was the true canon of Scripture, which was the Jewish approximation of their canon, the so-called Masoretic text, which they thought was somehow a one-up on the notion that Roman Catholics had included the deuterocanonical books. So Psalm 151 would be one of those additional deuterocanonical texts, just like the Epistle of Jeremiah, the letter of Baruch, Maccabees, right? So that's why it's in the Orthodox Bible, is because the Septuagint includes the deuterocanonical text.
That makes sense.
The Deuterocanon is what Protestants call the Apocrypha.
And the Apocrypha is a Greek word for something to be omitted, or?
No, it's just the extra books that Protestants thought aren't in the Bible. Now, the word Apocrypha means like wrongly titled or falsely titled. We don't use that term. Right? We call them
that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, we call them deuterocanonical because that's the way a lot of the church fathers classified these documents as secondary canon or wisdom writings, historical writings, right? So Sirach, Judith, Tobit, the Wisdom of Solomon, Psalm 151, Bell and the Dragon, extra section of Daniel. So there's quite a bit more in the Orthodox Bible, and that's because the Septuagint is translating and including the deuterocanonical books, because after Christianity after Christ, the rabbinical schools start to cut out anything that Christians were using. So the Christians are using deuterocanonical texts because there's so many places in those that they wanted to try to cut that off. And so for whatever reason, Protestants thought that in order to X out a lot of Catholic theology, which, for example, there's prayers for the dead in the Maccabees, there's the necessity of good works and, those deuterocanonical wisdom texts. Luther and others said, well, we'll just throw those out. We don't accept those. And thereby, I'm not going to have to accept the Catholic doctrines in those books.
In order for them to make it, is it in order to make it a coherent or quasi-coherent belief system?
No, it's just Luther says stuff like, I don't care if Maccabees says that you can pray for the dead. I don't accept Maccabees.
Right. I mean, but even though it makes it less full, is what I mean to say. And I think that due to the I guess one of the main reasons, to my understanding, for the
hold on. So there's an idiot in the chat. Deuterocanonical was not invented by Roman Catholics, right? I mean, there's church fathers that used the term secondary canon or secondary list. It's not invented by Roman Catholics. What are you talking about? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's totally understandable. And I guess I wanted to lead into my second question, if you can, if there's time. Is there time?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So the Third Ecumenical Council of Ephesus. Ephesus, thank you. There's an excerpt from the book Two Paths, Orthodoxy and Catholicism, where it discusses Pope Pius the 11th and his encyclical Lux Veritatis, and he writes a plea to the Orthodox churches, and it ends with, Father, whose judgment all the fathers of the Synod of Ephesus most dutifully received, and whom they all saluted, with concordant acclamations as, quote, the guardian of the faith. May they all return to us, who have indeed a fatherly affection for them all. So I assume that is regarding papal primacy and supreme authority for the papacy of Rome. But I guess my question is, what is the context? Because the author of the book doesn't really explain where where the Orthodox admitted that he is the guardian of the faith, and what does that really mean from his perspective, from Pope Pius's perspective in Lux Veritatis?
So the argument of Michael Welton's book is saying that Pius the Ninth is not being honest about what Ephesus says. Pius IX